Dennis is a shunting diesel who works on the various yards on the Fat Controller's railway. He's a more than capable worker, when he wants to be, which isn't all that often. To put it nicely, his work ethic has some room for improvement. But if you were to ask some of the other engines, it wouldn't put it quite as politely. Dennis is constantly doing whatever he can to get out of his work. If you can think of an excuse, he's probably tried it. Because of his laziness, Dennis isn't very well liked by his coworkers, though the way he acts, he doesn't seem to care. One morning, the Fat Controller came to visit Dennis in his shed. The scrapyard barrow is quite backed up at the moment, and they are in need of an extra shunter. I've volunteered you for the job. You'll be working there for the next few days. Dennis was horrified.
But sir, I don't want to go there. Why can't you send someone else?
The decision is final. You'll leave for battle within the next hour, and while you are there, I expect you to be on your best behavior. Should I receive reports of you being, unproductive, you will be one sorry engine. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir, Dennis said dryly. That afternoon, Dennis arrived at the scrapyard. He found the foreman waiting for him there. Now then, you're Dennis, I presume? That's, me. Yes. Right then. A train of scrap just came in. I want you to collect the trucks and organize them in the sidings. But sir, I just had a draining journey. Can't I have a bit of a rest first? No time for that, I'm afraid. Get your work done quickly, and you'll be able to rest before you know it. Now, come on, chop chop, get to work. And the foreman walked away. Reluctantly, Dennis rolled away to begin his work. Dennis hadn't heeded the Fat Controller's advice. His work ethic was pitiful, and he dragged his wheels as he shunted the trucks about the yard. It didn't take long before he'd slipped into his usual habits.
Oh, I feel painfully ill. I think I've thrown my radiator. It pains me to say this, but I don't think I can go on working.
The foreman wasn't buying it, but Dennis was making such a fuss, he didn't want to waste any more time arguing with him. Right then, I'll have the workmen come take a look at you. If they find nothing is wrong, I expect you to be back to work straight away. Yes, sir. The men examined Dennis all over, and as the foreman expected, they found nothing.
Oh, but I can still feel the pain. Can't you look again? Surely you've missed something.
No, we haven't. We've wasted enough time here, now get back to work. You don't want to see that foreman when he's angry.
Some workplace environment this is. Making sick engines work when they're in pain,
Dennis said indignantly as he rolled away. Over the next few days, Dennis continued trying to find ways out of doing his work.
Oh, my axle box is run hot. My engine is overheated. I think I've taken on some bad fuel.
Eventually, the foreman reached his breaking point. Fine! If you don't want to work, then you'll sit at the back of the shed until you're sent home first thing tomorrow morning! To Dennis, that wasn't the cruel punishment the foreman thought it was.
Finally, a chance to have a well-deserved rest, he thought to himself.
Dennis found a shed at the far side of the yard, where no one was around to bother him. Oh, now this is perfect, he muttered as he backed down into it. It didn't take long for the lazy diesel to drift off to sleep. But when Dennis awoke, it was dark. He hadn't a clue what time it was, nor what had awoken him. It didn't take long to figure out the latter, though. It was the humming of a diesel engine, a humming which belonged to a little orange shunter backing down into the shed next to him. The engine looked exactly like Dennis. The shed taken?
Well, I guess it is now, Dennis said grumpily. He'd been enjoying the solidarity.
The Diesel took no notice of Dennis's poor attitude. He just stared at him intently. And what are you doing here all by yourself then?
Why is that any of your concern?
The Diesel's smile vanished. I'll tell you why you're here. It's because you're a lazy, useless engine. Dennis was taken aback.
Excuse me! Who do you think you are? I can't help being sick sometimes.
Sick? Sick! Why, you miserable engine, as someone who's actually prone to breaking down, you disgust me.
Shut it!
Did you know that I'm a faulty build? I can hardly work some days, but I still give it my all, because unlike you, who has a controller that cares for you and would get you the repairs you need, my controller cares nothing for me. If it doesn't see me as efficient, poof, I'm gone just like that. I literally have to work through excruciating pain every day in order to stay alive, and to see a spoiled sort like you lie about something like that to get out of work, I don't even know what to say. Do you have any idea how lucky you are? There are so many engines waiting in the cold, dark sidings of scrapyards, such as this very one, who would give anything to be in your position, yet you couldn't care less. You're pathetic.
Well, what do you know? Who are you anyway?
Consider me your wake-up call. It's not too late to change. You could put your past behind you and become a hard-working engine who's a credit to your railway.
Oh, yeah? And just why would I do that?
Because you've been gifted a very fortunate home, one which you're ungrateful for. Don't you think your controller and fellow engines deserve a little bit of respect at the very least?
They'll get my respect when I feel like giving it to them. I'm tired of listening to your insufferable rant. I've got a long journey in the morning, and I'd like to rest up before I leave. Good night, you.
And Dennis closed his eyes, and was soon once again fast asleep, having all but dismissed the Diesel's words. The next morning, Dennis awoke bright and early. The Diesel from the night before had gone, and Dennis was all alone in the shed. Soon, his driver arrived, and he drove Dennis over to the fuel pump to top off before the journey back to Sodor. As he was taking on fuel, one of the yard shunters rolled up next to him, awaiting their turn to use the pump.
Oh, so you're bound for home today? Indeed. Not a moment too soon, eh? No offense. I take it you didn't enjoy your stay then? Not really, no. And, what's that orange Diesel's name? Orange Diesel? Yeah, it looks exactly like me, but, you know, orange. Huh? Oh, Norman! That old hunk of junk was sold off for scrap months ago. I'm sorry? Yeah, he was a poor runner from the start. He finally gave out almost a year ago now. Foreman sold him off to be scrapped. If you ask me, I think he should have done it long before. Did you know him? I guess. Just then, Dennis's driver called out. Tank's full, old boy. We'd best get going. Yes. Yes, of course.
And Dennis rolled quickly away. Dennis is a changed engine now. His encounter with what he can only assume was his brother left a deep impact on him. These days, Dennis is a hard worker. He mainly keeps to himself, and though he sometimes feels the urge to find an excuse to stop and rest, he refuses to let himself slip back into old habits, for he now knows just how lucky he is. Dennis still thinks about Norman from time to time. He hadn't even known he had a brother. And even though they only met once, Dennis can't help but feel remorse for his late brother. Some nights, Dennis swears he can feel Norman's presence, but he can never say for sure.
Boo! Ghosts! They're not fucking real!